My wife cheated on me, stole $200, $0 from our joint account, and then we found out she secretly bought a house in another state. Now she's trying to sue me for half the property I thought I owned outright. I'm devastated and need advice. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy to find out my wife had been cheating on me, stole a couple $100,000 from our joint account, and then bought a house in another state without telling me. It all hit me like a freight train, and I still can't believe how badly I was played. The weird thing is, for months I'd noticed small things, little lies, missed calls, her acting weird when she thought I wasn't paying attention. But I never expected it would blow up into this mess. Her name, Jessica. We'd been married for about 5 years, and honestly I thought we had a good thing going. She was the kind of woman who seemed perfect on the surface, beautiful, charming, always seemed to have some excuse for being late or distracted. But looking back now, I realized there were signs I ignored. She started working late more often, claiming she was just busy at her job, but her phone would be glued to her hand and she'd get defensive if I looked at her screen. Small things, sure, but enough to make me suspicious. Still, I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. The first real red flag was about 3 months ago. I noticed her bank statement started showing weird charges, small things at first, then larger ones. She'd say she was buying gifts or paying bills. I didn't think much of it at the time. But then I caught her in a lie about where she'd been one night. She said she was at a friend's house, but I found out she'd actually been at some guy's place. Some guy named Ryan, who I later learned was her coworker. That was the first time I really felt the ground shift beneath me. I confronted her about it and she brushed it off, said I was paranoid, that Ryan was just a friend, that I had trust issues. But I wasn't stupid. I started digging. I looked at her phone, her emails, her social media. What I found was worse than I expected. She'd been having sex with Ryan, I'm pretty sure, for months. There were messages, flirty, explicit, full of plans to meet up. I saw pictures she sent him, and I swear I felt my stomach turn inside out. I also found out she'd been secretly seeing him after hours, sometimes in her car, sometimes at his place. She lied about everything, said I was overreacting, that I was jealous, insecure, but I knew better now. She was cheating on me and she was lying about it every step of the way. What made it worse was the money. I'd always been the one handling our finances, working a decent job, saving for a house, planning our future. But I started noticing strange withdrawals from our joint account. Small amounts at first, then bigger ones. I thought maybe she was just spending more on herself, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then I found out she stolen around $200, $0 over the past year, money I thought we had for our future, for a house, for retirement. She'd been siphoning it off, hiding it in secret accounts, buying things in my name, and most shocking of all, she'd bought a house in another state without telling me. I found the deed online one night when I was doing some digging. The house was in her name in a small town I'd never even been to. It was a nice place, big yard, new appliances, the kind of house you'd see in a magazine. I couldn't believe she'd gone behind my back like that, just bought a whole house as if I wasn't even part of it. And she was trying to sue me for half the property, claiming I had no right to it because I didn't know about it. I was floored. How could she do this? How could she lie and cheat and then try to take what I thought was mine? When I confronted her with everything, she just looked at me with that bitchy smirk and said I was overreacting. She told me I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was crazy for accusing her of cheating and stealing. She denied everything, said she'd never cheated, never stolen a dime, that I was just jealous and insecure, but I had the evidence. I had the proof of her affair, the bank statements, the deed. Still, she kept lying, twisting her words, making me doubt myself. It was like I was losing my mind, trying to piece together the woman I thought I knew with the stranger she'd become. I felt so betrayed, so crushed. All those years of trust gone in an instant. I had built a life with her, had plans, dreams. And now I was staring at this mess, Her cheating, her theft, her deception. It didn't just hurt, it tore me apart. I felt angry, furious at her for dragging me into this nightmare, but also devastated, wondering if I'd ever really know her at all. How could someone I loved so much turn out to be this person? I don't think I slept for more than a few hours at a stretch after I found out. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that smug look she gave me when I accused her, and I felt this cold wave of rage and sadness all at once. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her get away with it. What she'd done was too much. But I also felt lost, unsure of what my next move should be. Do I fight her? Do I try to take back what's mine? Do I just walk away? Everything was falling apart and I was left standing there trying to make sense of a life I no longer recognized. After I discovered everything, her affair, the stolen money, the house in another state, I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train. The shock was overwhelming, but the anger quickly took over. I remember sitting in the dark one night, staring at the bank statements, the deed, her text, trying to process how she could lie so blatantly. How could she betray me like that, steal that much money, and then buy a house without even telling me? It was like she had been planning this all along, and I was just some fool who trusted her blindly. I confronted her face to face the next day. I was furious, trembling with rage. I laid out everything I'd found. Her affair with Ryan, the secret bank accounts, the house, the missing money. Her reaction was nothing short of infuriating. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk and said, "You're overreacting, Jason. You always jump to conclusions. I never cheated on you. You're just paranoid. That's why I don't want to talk about this anymore." Her voice was calm, almost mocking. She spun stories about how I was accusing her for no reason, how I was insecure, jealous, and how she'd never do something so disgusting. I could see right through her lies. I knew she was lying. She always was good at that, lying, twisting the truth, making herself the victim. But this time I had proof. I had the messages, the bank records, the deed. Still, her words cut deep. Her denial made me question everything I thought I knew about her. Was she really that manipulative? Did she think I was stupid enough to fall for her lies? It was a sickening feeling, knowing she'd been living a double life while I was working hard, trusting her with everything. The emotional toll hit me hard. I felt betrayed, crushed, and furious all at once. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her smirk, her lies, the way she looked at me like I was some fool. The worst part was the sense of loss. I'd lost my wife, my partner, the woman I thought I was building a future with. Now she was just a stranger who had used me, lied to me, and stolen from me. I started questioning myself. Had I missed the signs? Was I blind? How could I have been so trusting? I kept replaying everything, trying to find some reason, some explanation that would make sense. But there was none. Just betrayal, deep, raw betrayal. I felt so empty, so hollow inside. Every day was a struggle to get out of bed, to face the reality that the woman I loved had been lying to me for so long. The anger simmered beneath the surface. I wanted to confront her again and again, demand answers, demand she admit everything. But I also knew that wasn't enough. I needed a plan. I couldn't just let her walk away with my money, my house, my life. I started gathering more evidence, screenshots, bank statements, her emails, everything I could find. I wanted to be prepared for whatever legal battle was coming. I knew she was planning something, maybe trying to cover her tracks, maybe trying to spin her lies even more. I had to be ready. Meanwhile, she kept up the act, acting like the perfect wife in public, pretending everything was fine. But behind closed doors, I saw her true colors. Her bitchy attitude, her dismissiveness, her constant lying. She never once apologized or showed remorse. Instead, she kept spinning stories, accusing me of being paranoid or jealous. She even started threatening me, said she'd sue me for half the property, that I had no right to what she bought in her name. That's when I realized she was trying to turn this around, make me look like the bad guy. I felt like I was losing my mind. The emotional roller coaster was relentless. One minute I was furious, the next I was crushed, then desperate, then angry again. My trust was shattered and I didn't know how to rebuild anything. Honestly, I felt so betrayed, I wanted to just walk away, forget everything. But the financial damage was too big and I knew I couldn't let her get away with it. I had to fight back. I had to. protect what was mine, my money, my house, my life. So I started making calls, lawyers, financial advisors, anyone who could help me understand my options. I wanted to know how much I could fight for, what I could recover, and how to handle her legal threats. The more I learned, the angrier I got. She had been planning this for a while, and I had been so blind, so trusting. Now I had to be smart, cold even. I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore. This was war, and I was ready to fight for what was rightfully mine. Once I realized how deep Jessica's betrayal went, I knew I had to act fast. The first thing I did was hire a lawyer, someone who specialized in property disputes and financial fraud. I needed someone who could help me understand my rights, especially since she was trying to claim half the property I thought I owned outright. The lawyer told me I had a solid case, but it wasn't going to be easy. Jessica had hidden her tracks well, and she was already preparing to fight me in court. In the meantime, I started digging even deeper into her financials. I got access to her secret accounts, her emails, her phone records. It was like peeling back layers of a lie. I found out she'd been funneling money into a secret account she opened under a fake name. She'd been transferring thousands, sometimes tens of thousands at a time. I also discovered she'd been using some of that stolen money to make renovations at the house she bought in another state, adding fancy fixtures, new landscaping, even a pool, all paid for with my stolen money. That was the moment I knew I had to bring this to light. Jessica kept up her act, though. She was bitchy, dismissive, and constantly lying. She'd tell me I was crazy for accusing her of anything. She'd say, "Jason, you're just jealous because I'm successful and you're insecure. I can do whatever I want. You're just mad because I'm better than you." That kind of attitude made me furious. She thought she was untouchable, that she could spin her lies and walk away laughing. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I had evidence and I was determined to use it. One night, I caught her in a lie that made my blood boil. She told me she was working late at her office again, but I found a receipt from a hotel in the city where she'd been meeting Ryan. She'd been sneaking around behind my back, not just with him, but with others too. I also found out she'd been secretly dating Ryan for almost a year. She told me they were just friends, but the messages told a different story. It was clear she'd been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. That realization made me feel sick, but it also fueled my resolve. I confronted her again, this time with all the evidence in hand. She exploded. Her bitchy side came out full force. She yelled, called me paranoid, accused me of stalking her, and said I was just jealous because she was more successful than me. She claimed she bought the house and stole the money because she wanted a fresh start, that I was holding her back. But I knew better. I knew she'd planned this from the start. She'd been planning her escape while I was working late, trying to build a future for us. The emotional toll was intense. I felt humiliated, betrayed, and furious all at once. I'd given her everything, my trust, my love, my savings, and she'd thrown it all away for some guy in a new house. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How did I not see the signs? Why did I trust her? I felt like I'd been living in a nightmare and I didn't know how to wake up from it. Every day I'd wake up with a knot in my stomach, knowing I had to face her, face the truth, face the consequences. Despite everything, I knew I couldn't just sit still. I had to plan my next move. I kept talking to my lawyer, gathering more evidence and preparing for the legal battle ahead. I was also considering how I was going to deal with her attempt to sue me for half the property. I knew I had a strong case because the house was bought with stolen money, and I had proof of her fraud. Still, I worried she'd try to drag this out in court, drain me financially, and spin her lies even more. Meanwhile, Jessica kept up her bitchy attitude, dismissing my concerns and trying to make me doubt myself. She'd say, "You're just insecure, Jason. I don't know what your problem is, but I'm done explaining myself. If you want a divorce, fine, but I'm taking everything I can get." Her words stung, but I refused to be manipulated anymore. I was done playing her game. I decided I'd fight for what was rightfully mine, no matter how dirty she played. The hardest part was feeling so helpless. I wanted to confront her, to make her see the damage she'd caused, but I knew I had to do it legally. I had to be smart. I started documenting everything, every lie, every secret transfer, every sneaky meeting with Ryan. I didn't trust her anymore, and I knew she was capable of anything. I also started talking to friends and family, trying to get support. Some of them told me to just walk away, forget her, start over. But I couldn't let her get away with stealing from me and lying to my face. I had to stand my ground. By the time I had all the evidence lined up and my lawyer had filed the necessary paperwork, I felt a strange sense of clarity. Jessica was trying to play the victim as usual, claiming I was being unreasonable and that I was trying to ruin her. She'd spin stories about how she deserved the house and how I was just jealous of her success. She even went as far as to threaten me, saying she'd sue me for half the property, that she'd claim I was trying to cheat her out of what she deserved. That was her favorite tactic: lie, accuse, manipulate. But I knew I had the truth on my side. I decided I had to confront her directly again, but this time with a plan. I sat her down in our living room, laid out all the evidence on the table, and told her I knew everything about her affair, the stolen money, the house, the lies. Her reaction was instant. Her bitchy smirk turned into a sneer. She crossed her arms and rolled her eyes, saying, "You're crazy, Jason. You're just jealous because I don't want to be with someone who's so insecure. You're losing it. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but I'm done talking." I could see her trying to gaslight me, trying to make me doubt myself again, but I refused to. Down, I told her, "You stole from me, you lied to my face, and you bought a house behind my back. I have everything documented. You're not just leaving this house with some stories, you're going to have to answer for your actions legally." Her eyes flicked with annoyance, but she kept pretending like she was the victim. "You're just trying to control me," she spat. "You're jealous, insecure, and you're trying to ruin me because I don't want to stay with a loser like you." That last comment hit me hard. I had given her everything: my trust, my love, my savings, and she called me a loser. The irony was sickening. I'd been blinded for so long, but now I saw her for what she really was: manipulative, selfish, and completely indifferent to the damage she'd caused. I told her, "I'm done playing your games. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my money back, my house, and move on from this nightmare." After that confrontation, I decided to cut all contact. I hired a lawyer to handle everything, from the legal dispute over the house to the financial theft. I also started the process of separation, knowing I couldn't stay with someone who had betrayed me so completely. I felt a mix of relief and despair. Relief that I was finally taking control, but despair over the betrayal and how much I'd lost. I was devastated, but I also knew I had to be strong. Jessica, of course, wasn't done. She continued to threaten me, claiming she'd fight me in court. She tried to spin her lies even more, claiming I was trying to steal her property and that she'd sue me for everything I had. But I had the proof, and I was ready for the fight. I started preparing for the inevitable legal battle, gathering more documentation, talking to financial experts, and making sure I was protected. In the meantime, I moved out of the house. I couldn't stand being there anymore, knowing what she'd done. I rented a small apartment nearby, just enough space to breathe and start piecing my life back together. I knew it wouldn't be easy. Jessica had a lot of resources, and she was determined to fight me all the way. But I wasn't going to let her win. I had the truth, and I was going to fight for what was mine. The emotional toll was massive. Every day was a roller coaster, swinging between anger, sadness, and frustration. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, how I let her manipulate me for so long. But deep down, I knew I wasn't at fault. She was the one who lied, cheated, and stole. I just wanted to get through this, to come out the other side with some sense of justice. I was tired of feeling like a victim, tired of being betrayed by someone I loved. But I also knew I had to stay strong, keep fighting, and never let her see me break. The legal process dragged on, and every day felt like a new battle. Jessica was relentless. She hired her own lawyer, and suddenly it was a full-blown courtroom war. She kept insisting she was the real victim, that I was trying to steal her property and ruin her life. She'd spin stories about how she worked hard to buy that house, how she deserved it because she was more successful than me. But I had everything documented: bank statements showing the transfers, her messages with Ryan, the deed, and proof of her lying about the affair. Still, the court battles were draining, both financially and emotionally. Jessica's tactics were classic. She tried to discredit me, claiming I was controlling, jealous, and paranoid. She painted herself as a victim of my abuse. Even though I never laid a finger on her, she'd cry, scream, and throw tantrums in court, trying to sway the judge with her bitchy attitude and manipulative words. But I knew her game. I stayed calm, presented my evidence, and let her lies fall flat. My lawyer told me I had a strong case, especially since she'd bought the house with stolen money, which was a clear legal violation. Meanwhile, I was dealing with the aftermath of everything else, moving out, trying to rebuild my life. I had to find a new job because I drained my savings fighting her. That was another punch to the gut, realizing how much I'd lost, not just financially but emotionally. I'd wake up every day feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach, knowing she'd betrayed me in every possible way. I couldn't even look at her anymore without feeling anger. I'd catch myself staring at her social media, where she'd post pictures of her new house, her new life, acting like she was the victim. That made me sick. One of the most intense moments came when I finally got a court date set. Jessica filed a counterclaim, trying to say I was trying to cheat her out of her hard-earned property. But I had the receipts, proof that the money used for the house came from the stolen funds, and that she'd been lying for months. I sat in the courtroom, feeling the weight of it all. Jessica looked smug, confident she could spin her lies, but I was ready. I knew I had the truth on my side. The judge listened to both sides, examined the evidence, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. The day the judge finally made the ruling, I felt a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. She declared that Jessica had indeed bought the house with stolen money and that she had no right to claim it. The court ordered her to pay back the stolen funds, and she was ordered to relinquish the property. The judge also criticized her for her manipulative tactics and her blatant lies in court. Hearing that was like a weight lifting off my shoulders, even though I knew the fight wasn't over yet. Jessica was furious, screaming and crying, but I didn't care. I had the legal victory, and that was all that mattered. But the aftermath wasn't simple. Jessica refused to accept the court's decision. She hired a new lawyer, tried to appeal, and kept threatening me with more lawsuits. She's still trying to come after me, claiming I owe her money, that I manipulated her, that I'm the bad guy. It's exhausting trying to deal with her endless lies and manipulations. I've had to block her on everything: social media, email, even my phone, because I just couldn't handle her bitchy, manipulative attitude anymore. Looking back, all I can say is I've learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and some people will stab you in the back without a second thought. Jessica was one of those people. But I also learned that fighting for what's right is essential, even when it feels impossible. The legal victory was satisfying, but it didn't erase the pain of betrayal. Still, I'm slowly rebuilding. I've started therapy to deal with the emotional scars, and I'm trying to focus on moving forward. I know I'll never forget what she did, but I refuse to let her define me anymore. I want to be better, stronger, and more cautious with who I trust. If there's one thing I want others to take from this, it's this: never ignore the signs. Pay attention to the small lies, the secretive behavior, the financial oddities. Because if you don't, you might wake up one day with your life turned upside down, wondering how someone you loved could do something so terrible. And when it happens, don't be afraid to fight for yourself. Because at the end of the day, your peace, your integrity, and your future are worth it. After everything, I've come to realize that betrayal cuts deeper than I ever thought possible. Jessica's actions didn't just cost me money or trust, they shattered the foundation of what I believed was my life. The legal battle was brutal, but it was necessary. I fought for my rights, for what was stolen from me, and I finally got some closure when the court ruled in my favor. Still, even with that victory, the emotional scars linger. Living through this has changed me. I used to believe in trusting people blindly, in giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. Now I know better. Trust is a fragile thing, and some people, like Jessica, will exploit that trust for their own selfish ends. I've learned that you have to protect yourself, pay attention to the signs, and never ignore the small red flags. Because if you do, you might wake up one day to find your entire life turned upside down, wondering how someone you loved could turn out to be so different from the person you thought they were. The experience has also shown me the importance of standing up for yourself. No matter how manipulative someone is, if you gather evidence and stay calm, you can fight back. The courts may not be perfect, but they can help you get justice when you're dealing with someone who lies, cheats, and steals. I've come out of this stronger, more cautious, and more aware of the potential for betrayal in any relationship. Most importantly, I've realized that moving on is the only way forward. Jessica is out of my life now, and I refuse to let her poison my future. I've started rebuilding, focusing on my career, my family, and my own mental health. Therapy has helped me process the pain and betrayal, and I know I'll be okay. The scars will fade, but I'll never forget what happened. That's part of life's hard lessons. If there's anything I want others to take from my story, it's this: trust is earned, not given blindly. Pay attention to the warning signs and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you have to fight dirty to get your life back. And no matter how painful it is, you'll come out on the other side stronger, more aware, more resilient, and ready to face whatever life throws at you. Because in the end, your peace of mind and your integrity are worth more than any material possession or fleeting relationship.